I'm Danielle Hanenburg, and this is my functional assessment assignment for ECCE 2202 at Chat Tech. For this assignment, we had to analyze 4 different situations with different age groups and whether we thought the teacher's reaction was appropriate or inappropriate, and then give our reasons why. And then lastly, we had to give 2 alternatives to the teacher's reaction. So situation 1 involved 3-year-olds, and in this situation, the children are at lunch, and one child does not want to eat their vegetables. The teacher walks up to the child and tries to encourage them to eat their vegetables by saying, "It's so yummy, you should eat your vegetables," and the child responds with "no" very loudly. And the teacher shrugs it off and doesn't make the child try her vegetables again that meal. I chose to say that this is an inappropriate teacher reaction because the teacher not only didn't address that the child said no, but didn't encourage her to try to eat her vegetables. So for this situation, the teacher should have used the 5-finger formula, which first would mean for the child to calm down and the teacher to calm down. Once that has happened, the teacher walks up and asks the child what the problem is, and in this situation, it would be something like, "I know you don't want to eat your vegetables, but you can't say no to me, because that's not using kind words." And then the next step would be to brainstorm solutions, which would mean the teacher saying something like, "I understand that you don't want to eat your vegetables today, and that's okay, but what you can't do is use unkind words to me and tell me no. What kind of words could you use that would be kind to tell me you don't want to eat your vegetables?" And then allow the child to give their response. And if the child didn't give a good response, the teacher might suggest ways that they could tell the teacher no politely. And once they decided on a way, the teacher should encourage the child to practice saying it to the teacher so next time she could be kind. And then lastly, the last step is to use follow-up, and this would look something like the teacher saying, "Next time, let's use those words the first time when talking to me." So the first alternative I would give in the situation would be to be direct with the teacher, and they would have to do this without expressing insult to the child. And this would mean saying something such as, "I hear some unkind words being said. Let's try to use our kind words when we talk to each other." And this would address the problem of the child saying no to the teacher. But if the teacher was more focused on getting the child to try their vegetables and try new experiences, an alternative they could use would be commanding a choice. And this would look something like telling the child, "Would you like to eat your vegetables first, or would you like to eat your sandwich first?" And this way, the child knows that they need to eat their vegetables and that it's not an option, but they are still given an option of when they would like to do it. And it helps the child feel like they are more in control of the situation. The second scenario involves pre-K age children, and the scenario has 2 young children fighting over who gets to use the computer right away. In the situation, one kid says they got here first, but the other kid also says that. And the arguing continues to go on for a while before the teacher addresses it. And once she does, she says, "You need to either take turns or go to a different center." I chose to say that this reaction was inappropriate, and I chose this answer because she did not address the problem right away. The arguing was able to be dragged out for too long before it was finally addressed. And secondly, when she did address the problem, she did not do it in an encouraging way. We've been learning that we need to have part of an encouraging classroom. And this is a place where children feel at home when they're out of the home, and a place where teachers help children define problems in simple terms, physical objects, and specific actions. Which means, as a mediator, the teacher needs to work with the children to help them understand why what they did was wrong. And I did not feel that the teacher did this in this situation. The first alternative I would give to this teacher would be to use the first degree of firmness, which is inviting choices. And this would look something like walking up to the 2 boys and saying, "I see 2 kids who are ready to learn. I need one of you to sit at the computer and one of you to sit at the table with the stamps. You'll both get to use the computer, but only one can go first. Who would like to go sit at the computer, and who would like to go sit at the table?" This addresses the behavior without punishing the children for what they did that was wrong. The second alternative I would give would be to use negotiation reminders, which are used through using a sentence frame. And this might look something like, talking to one child and saying, to tell them that I feel angry when you push me away from the computer. Next time, please let me have a turn at the computer first. And using this sentence frame might deter the children from actually arguing with one another and might make the other child want to use the same thing if another situation happened like this, and then it would solve the issue altogether. Situation number 3 involves first grade children, and in this scenario there's 2 children reading from a bag of books. One child states that they want to read a book about caterpillars, but the other child says that they've read it several times and wants to read a different book that they might both enjoy. The first child got upset and started kicking, grunting, and being upset about it, and the other child sat there. When the teacher finally took notice, she said, "Is there a problem we need to address?" And the one child said that the kid who wanted to read the book about caterpillars was being mean. The teacher told them they can either share the books or go and visit the principal's office. I'd just say that this reaction was inappropriate. I would say it's inappropriate because the teacher did not address the actual problem between the 2 children. She also threatened the child with a visit to the principal. And an encouraging classroom does not threaten the child's membership in the classroom community, such as with timeout suspension, to motivate better behavior. The teacher in this situation did not use guidance but threatened to use punishment, which is not part of the encouraging classroom. She also didn't address the actual issue between the 2 children and did not give them a positive reason to resolve problems peacefully. The first alternative I would say in this situation would be to use the 5-finger formula. First, the teacher should have pulled both of the children aside and let them calm down. And then she could ask each individual child what the issue was. Then, once she's heard from both the children, she brings them together and tells what she heard was the actual issue and how they can fix the problem. And once they all come up with a solution to the issue, they need to discuss it a bit and then try it. And then, once they have tried the method, the teacher needs to remind herself to thank the children for actually mediating and discussing it. The second alternative I would say would be to be commanding choices. These 2 choices could be something like walking up to one child and saying, "Would you like to read a different book over here and from the bag, or would you like to go visit a different center?" In this way, the child is not being threatened with anything, but being told that they need to be kind and considerate to each other by reading another book somewhere else. And this would avoid conflict and irritation between the 2 children. Situation 4, the last scenario that we looked at, involves 2nd grade children. In this scenario, the teacher has the children flip open their books to find text features. One child puts their hand up and says they don't know what text features are, and the teacher says, "You're in 2nd grade, you need to know these things, find it in your book." I just say that this reaction was inappropriate, and I said this because teachers who work in an encouraging classroom invite children to learn. The teacher in this situation did not do that because she insulted the child and didn't help them fix this problem. And instead of insulting and saying, "You should just know this," the teacher should help instruct the child. The part of the encouraging classroom is creating a spirit of cooperation. And a teacher who requires children to come up with the answers all by themselves all the time is not fostering a desire to cooperate. And this also can lead the child to feel that they are disliked by a teacher, which is not what the teacher wants to convey. The first alternative for the situation would be just being direct with the child, but she would have to be careful to not insult the child. And this would mean helping the child actually find an answer to the problem. And this might look something like, "Do you remember anything about text features? Do you remember where you find maps in a book?" And if the child didn't know, then you help them try to recall what a text feature is. And a second alternative, I would say, would be to foster a spirit of cooperation. For example, the teacher might say, "Let's try to find where the maps are together. Why don't you open the book and show me where you think it would be?" This way, the teacher is helping the child find text features but not giving them the answers. And by helping them and saying, "Let's do it together," she's fostering a spirit of cooperation. And teachers who work in the encouraging classroom should be committed to learning and listening to children, and encouraging the children to also listen and learn. And by helping them and figuring it out together, they're helping the child learn and listen to instructions better. The last slide is my reference list using the book that we learned this semester, and this was my functional assignment. Thank you.